So this is the seventh unit, a New Year ball, about 17 years old. Her name is Natasha. She's visiting the Petersburg with her parents and the Count and the Countess Rostov and her cousin Sonia. So the family has been sent an invitation for or to a special event in this extract. So the writer recounts Natasha's excitement here and her wish that all the family should look their very best. Now I will let you listen for the audio.
Unit 7, pages 74 and 75. Reading. A New Year Ball.
17-year-old Natasha Rostov is visiting St. Petersburg with her parents, the Count and Countess Rostov, and her cousin Sonia. The family has been sent an invitation to a special event. In this extract, the writer recounts Natasha's excitement and her wish that all the family should look their very best.
On the 31st of December, on the eve of the new year of 1810, an old grandee of Catherine's Day was giving a ball to see out the old year. The diplomatic corps and the emperor were to be present.
So till now we have the date here out there, 31st December, which means at the midnight of the new year, 31st December, on the eve of the new year 1810. So you have to underline also an old granny of Catherine's Day was giving a ball to see out of the old year. So as a souvenir, بتعطيهم ball as a souvenir for the beginning for the new year, and the diplomatic crops and the emperor were to present. So in front of the emperor, you have to find it. So continue listening, please.
The grandee's well-known mansion on the English Quay blazed with innumerable lights. Police were stationed at the brilliantly lit, red-carpeted entrance. Not only gendarmes, but the chief of police himself and dozens of officers. Carriages drove away, and new ones kept arriving with red-liveried footmen and grooms in plumed hats. From the carriages emerged men wearing uniform, stars and ribbons, while ladies in satin and ermine cautiously descended the carriage steps, which were let down for them with a clatter, and swiftly and noiselessly passed along the red bays into the porch. Already a third of the guests.
So in this paragraph, I'm going to comment here about the grandee's well-known mansion, the English quay blazed with innumerable gendarmes or gendarmes. So who are the gendarmes? These people, if you see in this picture, the man who wears informal suit, a green suit, and try to guard the guests out there. So you have to underline this word, and the chief of the police himself and dozen of officers, and these are the descriptions for the arriving the guest, the beginning scene. بمعنى المشهد البدائي. Okay.
Guests had arrived, but the Rostovs, who were to be present, were still hurrying to get dressed. Natasha was going to her first grand ball. She had got up at 8 that morning and had been in a fever of excitement and energy all day. All her energies from the moment she woke had been directed to the one aim of ensuring that they all, herself, Mama and Sonia, should look their very best. Sonia and the Countess put themselves entirely in her hands. Sonia was nearly ready, so was the Countess, but Natasha, who had bustled about helping everyone, was less advanced. She was still sitting before the looking-glass with a peignoir thrown over her thin shoulders. Sonia, on the last stage, stood in the middle of the room, fastening on a final bow and hurting her dainty finger as she pressed the pin that squeaked as it went through the ribbon. "Not like that, Sonia, not like that!" cried Natasha, turning her head and clutching with both hands at her hair, which the maid, who was dressing it, had not time to let go. "That bow isn't right. Come here." Sonia sat down and Natasha pinned the ribbon differently. "If you please, miss, I can't get on like this," said the maid, still holding Natasha's hair. Oh, goodness gracious, wait then. There, that's better, Sonia. Will you soon be ready? Came the Countess's voice. It is nearly 10. Coming, coming. What about you, Mamma? I have only my cap to pin on. Don't do it without me, cried Natasha. You won't do it right. Yes, but it's 10 o'clock. It had been agreed they should arrive at the ball at 10:30. But Natasha had still to get her dress on before they called for Madame Peronsky. When her hair was done, Natasha, in a short petticoat from under which her dancing slippers showed and her mother's dressing jacket, ran up to Sonia, inspected her critically, and then flew on to her mother. Turning the Countess's head this way and that, she fastened on the cap, gave the grey hair a hasty kiss, and scurried back to the maids who were shortening her skirt. The cause of the delay was Natasha's skirt, which was too long. 2 maids were at work, turning up the hem and hurriedly biting off the threads. A third, with her mouthful of pins, was running backwards and forwards between the Countess and Sonia, while a fourth held the gossamer garment high on one uplifted hand.
So till now, this is a conversation between all of the ladies, Natasha's and her cousin Sonia, and all of the maids and her mom, okay? They are making a conversation between themselves about how could they go for the ceremony or the festival or the event, whatever it is, okay? So they were late, and they should arrive before 10:30. Please, at this paragraph, underline the appointment that they have, okay, at 10:30. But Natasha had still to get addressed before they called for Madame Peronsky. Tamam? Although she tries to get faster and faster, and her mother turning the Countess' head this way. Sorry. And she fastened on the cap and gave the gray hair hasty kiss, okay, and scurried back to the maids who were astonishing her skirt. So underline the maids were astonishing her skirt, which means that she got delayed or got too late in English. And why, if I ask you why the reason for being delayed, so the cause underlined here at the first line of the last paragraph, the cause of the delay was Natasha's skirt, and which was too long. اللي كانت كتير طويلة. 2 maids were working turning up the hem and hurriedly being of the threads. A third with her mouth full of pins was running backwards and afterwards between the Countess and Sonia, while a fourth held the gossamer garment high on one uplifted hand.
Inspected her critically, and then flew on to her mother. Turning the Countess, about you, Mamma? I have only my cap to pin on. To get her dress on before they called for Madame Peronsky. When her hair was done, Natasha, in a short petticoat from under which her dancing slippers showed and her mother's dressing jacket, ran up to Sonia, inspected her critically, and then flew on to her mother. Turning the Countess's head this way and that, she fastened on the cap, gave the grey hair a hasty kiss, and scurried back to the maids who were shortening her skirt. The cause of the delay was Natasha's skirt, which was too long. 2 maids were at work, turning up the hem and hurriedly biting off the threads. A third, with her mouthful of pins, was running backwards and forwards between the Countess and Sonia, while a fourth held the gossamer garment high on one uplifted hand. Hurry up, Mavra, darling. Hand me that thimble, please, miss. Aren't you ever going to be ready? Asked the Count, coming to the door. Here you are, still perfuming yourselves. Madame Poronsky must be tired of waiting. Ready, miss, said the maid, lifting up the shortened tulle skirt with 2 fingers. Natasha began putting on the dress. In a minute! In a minute! Don't come in, Papa! She cried to her father at the door, her face eclipsed in a cloud of tulle. Sonia slammed the door to, but a moment later they let the Count in. He was wearing a blue swallowtail coat, stockings and buckled shoes, and was perfumed and pomaded. "Oh, Papa, how nice you look! Lovely!" exclaimed Natasha, as she stood in the middle of the room, stroking out the folds of her tulle. "If you please, miss, allow me," said the maid, who was on her knees pulling the skirt straight and shifting the pins from one side of her mouth to the other with her tongue. "You can say what you like," cried Sonia in despairing tones as she surveyed Natasha's dress. "You can say what you like. It is still too long." Natasha stepped back to see herself in the pier glass. The dress was too long. "Really, madam, it is not at all too long," said Mavra, crawling on her knees after her young lady. "Well, if it's too long, we'll tack it up. We can do it in a second," said the determined Dunyasha. At that moment, the Countess in her cap and velvet gown crept shyly into the room. "Ooh, my beauty," cried the Count. "She looks nicer than any of you." He would have embraced her, but blushing, she stepped back for fear of getting her gown rumpled. "Mamma, your cap wants to go more to one side," said Natasha. "I'll alter it for you." And she darted forward so that the maids who were tacking up her skirt could not follow her fast enough, and a piece of the tulle got torn off. "Mercy, what was that? Really, it was not my fault." "Never mind, I'll put a stitch in it. It won't show," said Dunyasha. "My beauty, my little queen," exclaimed the old nurse, coming in at the door. "And little Sonia too. Ah, the beauties!" At last, at 10:15, they seated themselves in the carriage and were on their way.
Glossary.
So, this is the scene for preparing for the weddings and preparing themselves for an event, an important event. And this is I can describe this as a Turkish bathroom women talk. Okay, you can imagine how could women do before the last minutes to prepare herself perfectly. Okay, so she could do anything and she must be prepared perfectly in their minds. Okay, so these are the little bit queen and what happened to her. About you have to describe her feelings there out there when her father came in and the dress still what too long, and they tried to convince her about the about the dress. It's not too long, and the maid here also, the marva it's called. And no شو صار عندي هون mercy, what's that? That was not really my fault. She get snatch for the dress بمعنى مزع شوي. and شو حكيت لها here, never mind, I'll put a snitch in it, try to go, it won't show, said Dan Yasha. Okay, so trying to convince her she is very beauty, and she sees that my beauty, my little queen, exclaimed the old nurse. Okay, coming in the door, and little Sonia too. The beauties. Yalla al-Jamal. Okay, let's quarter past 10. They stayed and themselves in the carriage. Okay, we're on their way. So حط خط الآن على آخر سطر اللي هو War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Okay,